How do you guys feel about Asif making a level for the game? Do you feel betrayed, abandoned, bewildered, jealous?
Sure.
This breaks a lot of rules. The gods must be hungry. Asif Siddiqui.
I have not done this before, ever.
Man, we made a video game, you guys.
Yeah. Luckily, Compton is completely in turnaround at this point, right?
Compton. The idea now is to actually take The Gods Must Be Hungry as a core concept, and that's going to be the base of the Compton level.
Asif has sort of been interning under Ryan.
Just like learning like basic white boxing stuff and placing assets and things like that. That just kept evolving over the months, and I started doing little parts of the real world in the game. Yeah, just a bunch of small tasks that eventually like ballooned to the point where I was making content that would eventually ship in the game.
So we're here at the last brain, and time is tight.
So Zach sort of pulled me aside and asked how I would feel about doing one of the brain levels, and it would basically be The Gods Must Be Hungry.
And so when it was suggested, like, let's bring that in as a level and let Asif make it, I was like, that makes so much sense. It's a great setup for the ideas. And also, Asif's always been, you know, we'll do these interviews, or he'll watch a team meeting and he'll be sitting there back there taking notes, and then I'll get this email after the meeting saying, here's some ideas.
He sends me some drawings, like incognito sometimes, about meetings. Do you know this? Oh, he does.
Like everyone who like is like an avid consumer of something wants to like, or entertains the idea of like making content within that medium. Like it's been the same for us for all these years. Like even before we got into like doing game documentary stuff, like we all grew up watching movies and like we wanted to make a movie, and then we started making documentaries about the chip music scene, and then we all started writing chip music. And I think it's just a natural thing that happens. Like the more and more you get like deep into covering something and learning more about it and see how other people create stuff in that medium, like makes you just want to do it more and more. So yeah, I would say that pretty much like as soon as like we started working here and like covering Double Fine in 2012, like it just became more and more appealing to like work on games. And I definitely wasn't alone in that. Like the three of us like talked about game ideas for forever.
And I think some people can't stop making up ideas and stuff like that. And you can see, you know, Asif kind of pushing against that and wanting to share those ideas. And I think that it was great to let him have that opportunity to now do it in the level.
Cool. You know, I very well may not get an opportunity like this. So like, let me just say yes and worry about being scared later.
So we're gonna have Asif, because that was his Amnesia Fortnite level or project. He's gonna work on that with Will and Emily.
Excuse me?
Asif.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's our new designer.
I don't know where they found him.
Yeah. So now we're on Team Compton. It's Asif, me, and Will. And we're trying to figure out the last of the Psychic 7 brain we go into.
You seem to work with Emily a lot too, and how has your sort of professional relationship developed over the course of this project? You seem to always be on the same teams, and
Yeah.
Will, you don't drive me crazy.
Cool.
It happens. It's life. It's called collaboration. Sometimes people drive people
that?
crazy.
About that guy Will, who
That guy?
had a bunch.
He's super easy to work with, and we can just go, and just it works.
It just works, and that's just really awesome, you know? Like, I don't think I've had any disagreements with Emily, so it's really fortunate that we started out on the same team, and now we can continue.
Yeah. Do you want a cookie?
I want a cookie.
Let's go get a cookie. No cookie? Okay. They're poison cookies.
Oh, God. Where are these cookies? Wow! Those are big old cookies. Big cookie. You got the weird one.
Cookie time.
No. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
We were trying to figure out the story of Compton Boole.
So Compton's big problem. This is actually the biggest, your biggest problem as well. We don't really know what his mental condition is. Stuff that we've talked about before is that he can talk to animals. He's Dogen's granddad. He's one of the original Psychic 7. He's very close friends with Cassie. Cassie and him had sort of a bond. And you get the brainstorm power inside his mind.
Yeah, they really focus on the animation there. Not,
Hello. How's it going, you guys?
oh, now I remember. Okay,
It still needs to
doing
be a cooking game, and we're doing it, and it's going to be rad. It's
gonna be awesome.
Treating this as an analog for like how he feels about the Psychonauts becoming like a government agency, right? Because he initially joined for the whole mind expansion thing, and maybe that's how he felt about cooking in general. That was like his way of like communicating with people, because he's not good at doing that. And then the game show being like
wait, what did you
grafted
say?
on top of that.
He got into cooking because he's not.
Oh, I was saying that's just his way of like communicating or like relaying with other people, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting how it works out. Yeah. Well, everyone has to make it personal in some way. But yes, thanks, guys.
It's awesome. Don't forget deep frying. It can be high pressure, and he just wants to do a good job. So he's got a good team to work with.
There are a lot of people touching it, and like, you don't want to be the person that like drops the thing you're carrying, right? Or like your corner of it. So in that sense, like I feel a lot of responsibility. Try not to let anyone down, basically.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to let everything happen, but like we were originally talking about how like Compton needed to be a smaller level. Just saying. Yeah.
There is pressure to do this level a lot faster than the others, because I mean, and also, they want the level to be small because there's a lot of large levels, and we can't go crazy town because people will die. People will die. Asif is kind of thrown into kind of a tough situation where it's like, no, it's 2 weeks. If you don't figure it out, we gotta start cutting stuff, or it's a little bit more like dire at this point.
I love the whole like game show VHS, and I would really lean in hard to that and do like weird transitions and full screen effects. And it seems like you're already thinking about that way. I know you guys had ideas for like commercial breaks and like live action and like do a theme song and like really embrace that. Current Compton idea, have you seen?
I haven't seen it in a couple days.
It's gonna be amazing.
And I don't know what these guys are gonna say. We'll see. We'll see on Monday. I'm gonna like present that stuff up there, and they'll be like, "Why isn't this and this and this and this in there?" And I'm going, "Because it doesn't work together." But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Drench it in water. Put some water. Okay. So first, click. It's like staticky. And then you hear a little ding, record, and there's dramatic soap opera music. Channel 3, Cassie's like, "Why didn't you come?" Dramatic soap opera music. "Because, my dear, I had burns in my ears at the time." Channel 4, "Ooh, scary music, Jen." All right. And welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Ford Cruller, and this is Temporary Game Show Title. Yay! And Ford explains the rules. Now, let me introduce our first contestant. Hello, young man, what's your name? Raz. You abandoned your family to go to the psychic summer camp without their knowledge. How did that make Frazee feel? A, horrible. B, scared. C, awful. D, all of the above. Could get you on to the next round.
So is there still a cooking show?
Yes.
Okay. That just is what happens.
Those are the physical challenge things. That's like the thing you compete in.
Storyboard, you're like, and cooking.
That video
Okay.
game happened.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as long as you're not losing the cooking show, 'cause I really like the cooking show.
Yeah. I was thinking we were looking at. Hold on, let me show you. Like the cooking.
Often something gets approved. People will have a moment where they all are together and like, that's a great idea. And then you don't check in, and you check in like in a couple of weeks, and it's something totally else. And you're like, what is this thing that you're doing now? Because we approved this other thing. It was a great idea. And like, well, actually try to work on it. We just changed it to this other thing. It's like, well, just try to remember the feeling we had that made that work sense. And is it not valid? Like, did you learn something that made that prove that wasn't going to work? It's like, no, we just kind of moved into this other thing. It's like, what? Don't let that go for no reason. Like, if you have a good reason, then you should abandon it. But if try and remember what you liked about that thing and why you got excited about it, and try and keep that alive. The cooking show thing did definitely seem to strengthen his problem of being overwhelmed and being overstimulated by stuff. That's how I thought of it. Did you ever talk about that before?
That was one of the things. It wasn't.
I was taking it more in the direction of he's sort of reliving, with a recording and reliving like sort of past things, repeating. You know how you do that thing in your mind where you repeat like, oh God, why did I do that?
I don't know. I really like the TV stuff. I don't think it would actually be. I think it makes for a nice frame because the game show stuff is so frenetic.
It's just that I worry about diluting what you're kind of parroting, because if it's like a cooking, if it's Iron Chef, it's like we're parroting this like over-the-top cooking show, and then if you add in it's also the Newlyweds, or Jeopardy, you start to kind of water down a little bit what the parody is of, and it's a less clear idea.
You mean like the trivia thing too?
Yeah. Is that trivia thing like a thing the player's doing? They're answering trivia questions?
Yeah, it was meant to be like a dialogue tree interaction, and it's sort of your only opportunity for like getting more story or like other characters in the level.
Yeah, the trivia thing, I'm not saying don't do the trivia thing, I'm just, I like the cooking show thing. That's what we decided why we're going to do this, right? We're like Gods Must Be Hungry and wanted that to be.
Cool, that sounds good.
Cool, all right, is that it?
Thanks, guys.
I'm always the first one to run out of a meeting room, but... That's the right idea. Is anyone else? There goes Jeff. All right, okay, good.
Play T1 Zombie.
I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it's totally offensive.
Compton's been a little difficult with the food and animals.
I know.
Have to have Cassie and backstory. I don't know.
And brainstorm.
And brainstorm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ideally, like, the idea was that we would save a bunch of concept time by already having this idea and just, like, plopping it straight into the game. But the problem is that there are all these other considerations that we have for, like, things about the character that have already been decided. And then there's also a power that's kind of already figured out that we need to introduce in this level. And all of these things don't necessarily fit in. They don't slot in perfectly with The Gods Must Be Hungry, basically, is what the problem is. So we're just trying to figure that out.
Perfect, Asif. You like wrote it and like look back and then you're like, how am I gonna do this?
Is there any way we can move prototyping of the brainstorming power up? Because I know you had talked about doing some more tinkering with that and like what it is so that it can come from that and how it functions.
We should at least be able to have those discussions.
It's weird in a way, like in the current state, because the powers are always evolving and they get retooled and like sometimes completely changed based on what the needs of the level are.
All right, and brainstorm.
Goats.
Yeah. So each lightning strike will scramble it into something else, and then if you hit it, oh god.
It's supposed to, so they sort of cycle through the things they can scramble into, and then if they take any damage at all, you can lock them into that form. And that's something that I think the Constantine is going to be using for puzzles there, where you're transforming different food ingredients into different stuff and using them, and it'll be able to sort of swap through these spaces.
Yeah, I did something really bad.
In this case, in its current form, the power that we're supposed to be basing this level around, or at least introducing to Raz in this level, is completely like, antithetical to like the gameplay of Gods Must Be Hungry. You need a specific outcome, and this like just generates a bunch of random outcomes right now. But some early
Swing through the
things I
fonder.
was playing around with Brainstorm was creating opportunity and danger at the same time. So you want to open that little case to get the challenge marker in there, but now you've made the floor dangerous. So you have to be a little bit more careful getting over there.
So that's just sort of like thematically embracing the random nature of Brainstorm
Yeah.
by having it turn on stuff that's like both good and bad
Exactly.
or unpredictable. That all seems super cool.
The way that Brainstorm is used in these cases is there is a switch that you can only press with Brainstorm.
With Brainstorm, right.
But it doesn't feel like you're using Brainstorm in a sort of like psychic way.
Yeah.
It's just, here's the way that I press this button.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a shock switch, basically.
Is there a world where we don't have Brainstorm?
Sure. I don't know. Will, Emily? What do you think?
This power doesn't really fit with this character, guys. But that's not really my place.
Excuse me? You say hey diddle diddle?
Hey, diddle diddle, put the wheel in the middle. So, where are you guys at now? What is the structure like as you see it?
Just sort of going through all these like strange like nonsense game show to sort of reinforce the like overwhelmed feeling of it just like changing.
You know, I don't want to break my own rule about not worrying during brainstorming at all, but I think like a lot of this is giving me a very strong Hollis vibe though. Like it's very similar
I
to
know
Hollis, like a
the
Wheel of
lights
Fortune.
and stuff.
That being really Vegas-y looking. That's the problem with if you make it game show world, it's going to look like Vegas world.
That's also another major constraint is like, we now have all the other levels kind of figured out. So like now this level can't necessarily step on things that other levels have done, right?
It just feels like it's really crowded territory in this one particular game to like do a real showy game show world. To like first like focus on like what is the environment now besides the arena? Is it the arena? Is it such a big arena that it's like a town, or is it a small arena and there's stuff outside of the arena that you live in, or what is the setting for the game?
Focus to the arena is better than like expanding it out into like an arena town, I guess, for me, because like you want to be able to like see all the options.
Yeah, but if you just have the
available to
whole
you.
level set in one big bowl, I feel like you're really exploring it all.
Yeah, we're also sort of fighting that it's supposed to be one of the smallest levels, you know? So
I didn't know that. It's supposed to be one of those small things.
Yeah.
That was part
Oh, I made that one big bowl thing. It's starting to sound good then.
I think three of us will
Just want to have an
come up with
aesthetic.
some. Yeah,
Just a nameable aesthetic.
sure.
A nameable location. All right, you guys.
Thanks,
right.
Tim.
cool.
We'll get out of your office and talk about stuff.
I kind of brainstormed out. So brainstorming feels like doing a ton of work without doing any work. So you still have the feeling that you did no work, but you still just mentally sat there and like just kind of ground away at this like thing, this ethereal thing with all these floating pieces, and you're like, how do they all fit together? And you leave those meetings just exhausted.
And is the brainstorming phase starting to eat into the production phase in terms of those 12 weeks?
It is, yeah. Technically should have started on Monday with that, but I don't think anyone has done that yet on any team, so.
No, absolutely not.
Maybe Crystal? I feel like we followed Peter Chan's thing. Like,
Yeah, which we didn't have the advantage of this time around. So we've seen it like happen to everybody else, and I mean, really, the only difference is that like I'm just, a participant versus an informed observer, I guess. For as much like stuff as I've helped out with, whatever I did on AF, that doesn't necessarily like prepare you for like level design at this scope, basically, with like this big of a project and this many different considerations. So this is definitely like a whole new challenge for me at this point.
I think Asif's freaking out a little bit. Like, he's doing a very good job, but I feel his pressure a little bit. I sense it. I sense it off his aura. But he's doing fabulous. He's great.
But I'm just always a little lost about where we are, like or what problem we're trying to solve. Because at various points, it's all seemed fine to me, but it seems like it's still kind of flipping around as far as the ideas go.
I think it's right now, like the way that it is there's like 5 ideas and there's lots of things that people think about that solve for 4 of those ideas, and then it's like, but what about this thing? It's like, I don't really know how that fits. And so there's a bunch of different versions of it that seem like they work together, but they don't necessarily do all of these things.
So, the God thing is a big question mark, this big like looming thing that we don't even know what it would be.
Yeah.
And it's also an additional thing of like, I feel like the game show or whatever's going on should be overwhelming, not this thing that's coming.
But the God is the game show, and it seems like that's just a writing problem of figuring out like what does that God represent. But just the God is the driving force that makes the game show tense. So they are the same thing to me. This thing that you have to please, and it adds to that feeling of helplessness of being a tiny thing, and the tiny thing in the giant kitchen because the God is giant, you know.
I mean, it could be just giant kitchen theme, but it seems straightforward to me.
It's just a flooded kitchen instead. It's just a bunch of messy stuff
Flooded
around.
kitchen.
That's totally moving in an entirely different direction, but
Yeah. I mean, I like that better than just a straightforward clean kitchen, which would be like every other game, every other cooking game.
he's incontinent. It's his problem.
He's incontinent.
That's his problem. You have to go into his brain and solve his incontinence.
Gross. That's
It's a gastronaut's
Disgusting.
task.
Yeah.
Bob
It's the guy-
Seaslove.
You got to bring in the gastronauts. You figured out where you're going to put them in the plot yet? Where you were putting the gastronauts?
Could we still create an overwhelming game show set without like some of these specific shapes we associate with older shows?
But so this is the path that I'm confused about because like the high pressure cooking show is overwhelming and it works. Why are we talking about moving down another path? Like what's wrong with it? And
the game show was something we tried to like preserve for a long time. There has to be like characters and story elements and exploration and dialogue trees and like puzzles and all that kind of stuff, right? Like these are the expectations that all of the levels have. So it was a way to like bring more of that stuff in.
Claymation.
There's the Play-Doh
Just
level
stop motion.
where everything's made of Play-Doh.
where's the Play-Doh level?
That's the one we're about to make for this.
Yeah. The big advantage of Play-Doh is all the things becomes Play-Doh Fun Factory, and then you're molding all the stuff.
You trying to make a fake food meal for a big Play-Doh god?
Oh, look how cute
That's
that
pretty
is.
cute.
Yeah, isn't it?
We could do that.
I mean, that would be satisfying to do. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Play. Very satisfying video.
Where did you have that?
Are you trying to please giant animals? Is that what the gods are? The gods are giant, ridiculously large squirrels and puppies and kittens. It's a giant rampaging kitten. Have a giant 30-foot tall goat that you're cooking for.
That's pretty good. Can that just be the skybox, a bunch of animals watching you through a little
Oh,
hole?
yeah.
I like having those two worlds.
backstory.
I think that's interesting.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a theme.
That's a fine aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. That feels a little bit more tied into his character.
If this were just a big, giant kitchen, and there were some fussy goats upstairs who were yelling at you the whole time.
There we go. And they talk to you. They're NPCs, but they're still dead. Let me give you
Like
a
just the
question.
mouth moves and one creepy eye.
And you think that's what's happening, and then all the maggots that are making it move come out of the
Wonka burning love.
Wonka burning love.
Oh,
There you go, frog riding a squirrel.
yeah.
Just like in real life.
Take that, animals. Get all uppity with us. We're like, yep. Well, you pretty much nailed it. Why don't you type all that into the level and press play and see what happens?
It's good. It's a lot of good stuff to think about there.
Yeah. All right, that was my last idea.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Thank you guys.
Good luck.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
That was a lot, but there's something interesting in there. I think that can be glommed onto. I kind of actually want to like watch this footage again and try and process it. How do you feel about cooking a meal for a bunch of fancy little animals, Greg?
I like if it's like a
Sounds wonderful.
big
Yeah.
goat
Yeah.
with its face.
This is the character's obsessed with animals and also cooking food.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy. Fun.
I notice in these meetings, Asif like melts.
Slowly falls
You
over.
slowly melt when your brain is like
Yeah.
burning out.
It's what happened every time I was a kid, like going out with my parents somewhere. I would
And
just
you're
like slowly like fall over and then sleep in a booth.
You know when your parents come pick you up from something and then they start talking?
Yes.
And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
no.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
were leaving.
No. And then they talk at the doorway for like another 20 minutes
Now
while
I'm,
you're like,
I'm thinking back to that. I'm like, that was the only time I got to talk to people. like,
I know, it's so sad. And you're like, oh, come on, Mom. Dad,
cartoons
what
are
are
on.
you doing?
okay, I know this doesn't quite help us get to like a specific aesthetic yet, but I really do like, to answer your question, I really do like the whole animals waiting for a meal thing.
Okay.
Because we've been talking about feeding animals, like I think that's really cool. Because I like the feeling of like, you're standing at this point and this is where all the ingredients are, and then you're handed down some order and it's like, cool, I know I need to grab this ingredient, and go to that station, and that station. Like, if
Yeah,
that is the, like
that
the
sounds
player
clear.
loop, you know,
Sure.
I think that's pretty good. Okay, do you guys feel good about just like taking out the TV stuff and then replacing it with like, these are what these animals want to eat?
Yeah.
Go make them?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So.